Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a todos. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Welcome to a community that is dedicated to providing spiritual tools for living a happy and full life. My name is Karina Shear and I am the spiritual director and founding minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta. Today is August 29th and we are continuing with our theme for the year, which is 2020 Spiritual Vision. The topic for the month of August has been Inclusion in Action. And the topic for this week is We Are. So each week we begin with a spiritual practice called affirmative prayer, also known as spiritual mind treatment. It's a powerful tool and a practical tool that shifts our consciousness so that we're open and available to accept all the good that is already present into our life. It aligns our thoughts with all our good. So let's move into today's service with intention, as we do each week, from a reading from the Creative Thought magazine. And I'll be reading this week from August 28th. 2014. Spiritual mind treatment is always done in the first person, so I invite you to close your eyes and to take these words as your own if you so choose. I live the vision. Only one thing is happening here, now, and everywhere and throughout all time and space. That one thing is the divine one mind, and I am plugged in vibrantly and totally to that oneness throughout every cell of my body and in every situation and condition in my life. I accept and claim that I am a thinker and a creator in this human realm, visioning and expanding that expression of the marvelous one mind in new and exciting ways. I release whatever doubts or anxieties beset me to embrace my highest vision and to create new ways for spirit to speak, new ways for people to interact and embrace spiritual principles, and new ways for a universal family to grow and nourish love and peace around the planet. I accept with equanimity the tension of creation, and I know that as I share my talents, the world shares all of its wondrous gifts with me. I accept that I can move past personal fears to an ever-expanding spirit as human consciousness. I am so grateful for the uplifting visions that are blooming in my life today. I release my word into the law and know that the divine is blooming in my life today in a perfect way. And so it is. So I'll just let you know that today I am actually pre-recording this talk on Thursday, as I am having surgery on my knee on Friday and will be spending the night in the hospital on Saturday to be released at some point. So, not wanting to miss a week, I give this talk to you in advance. So let's just pretend that it's Saturday. And so now, excuse me, I'd like to review our purpose, vision, and mission statements here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta. So if you'd like to read them with me, I'll just put them up on the screen for all of us to see. As we just wait for my able to catch up. So here we go. Our purpose is to awaken and celebrate diversity and to love and serve our community. This is supported by our vision, which is to educate and support each other so we can create the life that we desire that works for us right now. And this is done through our mission, which is to provide spiritual tools for personal growth and transformation. So I'd like to welcome everyone again, whether this is the first time that you are attending one of our spiritual lectures, or if you have been to our center before, or if you've never been to a center before and this is your first experience. Know that you are truly welcome. It doesn't matter what your background is, it matters that you are on this path. So please know that however you show up in this life, you are welcome. And you are a blessing to us and to the world. Sorry, I've just been jumping ahead there a moment. So I'd like to just remind you that we are a center that teaches a philosophy called the Science of Mind. And it's a teaching based on new thought and ancient wisdom. So we honor diversity in all aspects so that we can see and appreciate the great oneness that already exists everywhere within everyone. And each week we offer a service with an inspirational message. And normally this would be done at a restaurant in downtown Puerto Vallarta. But since we're still in staying safe at home, where we still require the use of a mask when we go out in public, it's much easier for you to both see and hear my words without the mask. So I come to you live, recorded, via Zoom. So welcome to my abode, mi casa. More information on when we will be attending the restaurant again will be coming up, posted both on our website and on Facebook. So look forward to that, but I'm guessing it probably won't be until perhaps sometime in October. So as we wrap up this series of Inclusion in Action for the month of August, this final week is a great opportunity for proclaiming a statement of community faith that affirms identity, diversity, and the beloved mosaic of identity. Dr. Ernest Holmes said this: "It seems to me that it is only as we view all of it, all life, everything from what we call great to what we call small, important or unimportant. It is only as we view the whole thing as one stupendous whole, whose body, nature, is with God, the soul, that we shall really enter into communion, into sympathetic oneness and rapport with the reality of all that is about us." So again, this month we have been focusing on inclusion. inclusion in action. For those that may not have been watching earlier talks this month, I'll just give you a little brief recap. So the first week, our discussion was titled, Let's Get Together and Feel All Right, about recognizing diversity and examining our beliefs. The second week, we asked ourselves, who are we? Each of us are unique and yet unified at the same time. The next week, we dove a little deeper into our uniqueness with colorblind or colorful. And last week, we discussed being better together. This week, we are affirming who we are. So let's dive a little deeper into this topic with 3 key points. The first being a recap of the beauty of diversity and inclusion. Secondly, being unified through spirit. And thirdly, looking at inclusion as a way of life. So we've been exploring the inherent diversity present in the universe during this month. And if you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. And we'll do this recap of the entire month. Most deeply, our most deep understanding and experience of spirit and oneness is when we celebrate and understand that we are diverse. And it is through building inclusive relationships and inclusive frameworks that we reveal oneness in the world. Today, we are going to be making a community statement of conviction, an affirmation of the inclusivity that we are building. And we do this because this clarity of conviction helps create both inner change and collective change. Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, an adorned and ordained Zen priest, said this: without inner change, there could be no outer change. Without collective change, no change matters. It's an ancient practice to lay claim to sacred individual and collective identities. In the Bible, the act of baptism is a sacred covenant. Metaphysically, it can be understood as a symbol, a symbolic unifying of the individual to God, bringing together seemingly different entities that in reality are inseparable. It symbolizes new life. It's a ritual of water and words that help people understand the relationship that we're in, and with the divine, and with all of life. In Buddhism, they take vows. These promises, the words and rituals that surround them, speak to what is a perfect aligning of ourselves to the universe, to others, and to a path. I still remember the celebration ceremony that my ministerial classmates and I had after our graduation. We rented a houseboat on Okanagan Lake for an afternoon cruise and dinner. There was also a giant slide from the top deck into the water. So We took our turns going down the slide, a baptism of sorts, with Dr. Ken blessing us each as we went down, taking our turn to dive into the water. I'll never forget my experience. I went down the slide, feet first, toes pointed, arms up behind me, and I hit that water like a rocket. I kept going farther and deeper, plunging into the dark, cold waters. Time seemed to stand still. It seemed like I was plunging deeper and deeper into the depths of the darkness. I worried for a moment that I'd run out of breath, run out of air before I could resurface. It seemed like forever. And I remember starting to panic. And then I relaxed and just enjoyed the moment. I must have spread out my arms and my legs like a starfish to slow my downward trajectory. And then started to rise up and then started to swim upwards. With a few long strokes, I began to see the light above the water. And finally, safe above the surface. It was a very profound moment for me, for sure. Barbara Brown Taylor says this: anyone can ask and anyone can bless, whether anyone has authorized you to do it or not. All I'm saying is that the world needs you to do this, because there's a real shortage of people willing to kneel wherever they are and recognize the holiness holding into sometimes bony, often tender, always life-giving hand above their heads. That we are able to bless one another at all is evidence that we have been blessed, whether we can remember when or not. That we are willing to bless one another is miracle enough to stagger the very stars. So yes, it was quite a blessing to be sent down that slide by Dr. Ken into the water. So if any of you have an opportunity to do this or to do it again, see it from a different perspective and imagine it being your own baptism. So inclusion is a way of life. And yet we also know that those who are baptized still have doubts, and those who have taken Buddhist vows will still resist suffering. Baptism, vows, community statements of conviction and faith are not promises that will never falter or that will always perfectly execute our beliefs. They're not a one and done magic trick that once acted on never need to be thought of again. They're meant to be returned to whenever needed and as often as needed. They are a way of life. So today we speak a community statement of inclusion and love for similar reasons to why humans have taken spiritual vows and have gone into the baptismal waters for centuries. Because we are leaning into the sacred dichotomy that we are at once living in a state of perfection, oneness. And at the same time, we're being guided in the direction of a more deeply manifested experience of the oneness in our world. Our community covenant for inclusion and love, our affirmation, does not mean that we will never struggle with inclusion, diversity as individuals or as a community. We may fight and disagree, yet we have a lot to learn together. We are human and we are sometimes messy, but our affirmation today can be a guiding North Star to us as well, giving us a path back to ourselves and to each other so that we can live into the one stupendous whole that Dr. Ernest Holmes so often spoke about. So our affirmation today is a community statement of inclusion. So I know the printing is small, but let me just share this with you. So we, the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta, are a community that celebrates diversity, fosters inclusion, champions inner work, and creates space for brave, vulnerable conversations. We are a community that honors the unique emanation of God that each person embodies, advocates with people for human rights and dignity for all. We are a community that blesses each other, sees holiness in all life, remains learners and listeners so that we can grow together and understand that oneness is not sameness. And we, the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta, know that the beloved community is revealed when we love each other well. So now is our time for mindful giving and financial support for our spiritual home. If you have been spiritually fed and nurtured today, then I ask that you give from your heart, whether it's $5 or $500, or even just the cup of a coffee, the cost of a cup of coffee. We rely on your support here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta so that we continue offering this powerful teaching of the science of mind. And we bless the financial gifts that you give today. So at this time, we would normally pass around a basket, but for now, donations can be made using our PayPal on our website, www.CSLPV.org. And I'll just put that screen up for you so that you can go ahead and log into our website. And on the landing page, you'll see a donate button. And that will give you a direct link to our PayPal. So as you're doing that, or whenever you give your donation, I'd like you to say these offertory affirmations. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies. All that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I do give eternal thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. So thank you for listening in on whatever day that you are hearing this. And I do hope to see you in person soon. In the meantime, know that you are loved, You are blessed and you are a blessing. Namaste.